and take a life by your hands for your actions to be brutal. Brutality at the hands of law enforcement can come in the form of the prosecution doing this to a person. And without further ado, I'm going to read the article and let it speak for itself. All right. So I'm not going to do the whole Dems versus Republicans. I'm not. I'm going to let the Democratic Party and the Republican parties stand for themselves. If they want to do the right thing by Melissa Lucio, they can do the right thing by Melissa Lucio. If they want to be known as wonderful, God-fearing, people-loving, gente de la gente, all kinds, state level, federal level, but you didn't say anything about Melissa Lucio's life, literally when everybody else around you was fighting for her life to not be taken. It's going to matter to me. I don't care if you're running for re-election as state rep or state senator in a county next to me, a county within my U.S. district, or even in my state. It's going to matter to me for the rest of your lives. Whoever didn't say anything regarding Melissa Lucio, it's going to matter to me. And hopefully it matters to other people that are starting to be educated when it comes to the kind of candidates that they vote for. All right. Okay, here we go. Lucio files for clemency. Application made to governor's office. This happened on Tuesday, y'all. Yesterday. Appeals attorneys representing a Harlingen mother sitting on death row for killing her toddler daughter hope Governor Greg Abbott and the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles will grant her request for clemency. An application for clemency was filed Tuesday on behalf of Melissa Lucio, 53, who is scheduled to be executed April 27, 2022, for the February 2007 murder of her daughter, Mariah Alvarez. According to attorneys representing Lucio, new evidence that the jury never heard showed that Lucio was a victim of sexual abuse and domestic violence and was wrongly convicted. Lucio's attorneys and others involved in her case held a press conference via Zoom Tuesday outlining what they say were failures in her capital murder case. A Cameron County jury in 2008 found her guilty on one count of capital murder for causing the death of Mariah Alvarez. The little girl had been beaten. Lucio denies killing her daughter. On the night of Mariah's death on February 17, 2007, Lucio told police and EMS personnel that her daughter had fallen down some stairs, according to federal court documents. Later that night, during a videotaped interview with investigators, Lucio explained that she has caused the bruises on Mariah's body by spanking Mariah, quote unquote, real hard. And Lucio said nobody else would hit her. Quotes. During an interview with a Texas Ranger, Lucio later admitted that she was responsible for her daughter's death, prosecutors said. Lucio's appeals attorney says she was coerced to confess. Quote, my office intends to file a timely response to Lucio's application for reprieve and commutation. It is due at noon on April the 12th, 2022, said Cameron County District Attorney Luis V. Saenz in a statement. I'm not going to fault Cameron County District Attorney Luis V. Saenz. He's doing his job. He's doing his job. Okay? He's doing his job. What can I say? He's done a lot of good things for the community, and he's in a position to do this. So, it's just all going to be up to which side is the strongest. And that's it. Nothing but love for that man. And he knows it. And I still want to save Melissa Lucio's life. Okay? All right. Quote, Mr. Saenz, my office intends to file a response to Lucio's motion to disqualify me and my office as soon as the question of the disqualification of Judge Garcia is resolved. So they want to disqualify a judge, and they also want to disqualify that. And it makes sense. Even though it is a new district attorney, Luis V. Saenz is not the corrupt prosecutor who did this to Melissa Lucio's life. That's Armando Villalobos. Okay? That's Armando Villalobos. But it is the same law enforcement agency. So it doesn't make sense that the same law enforcement agency is going to be involved in this case. How are you going to see, how can we, in other words, it makes sense that they have submitted a motion to disqualify the office and the judge, simply because it doesn't make any sense to allow, it's unreasonable to think that the same exact law enforcement agency, even if it's under the new direction of a new district attorney, is going to do the opposite of what it did before. Come on. We need to ensure that the right thing is going to be done. And in order to increase the chances that the right thing is going to be done, that's why they have submitted a motion to disqualify and to, I guess, get a special prosecutor onto the case. That makes sense. And you know what? It takes it out of his hands, because I'm sure that there's a lot of supporters of him that are supporters of Melissa Lucio as well. So, you know, it takes him out of the equation. According to Tyvon Shardle, Assistant Federal Public Defender with the Capital Habeas Unit, the Board of Pardons and Paroles usually won't make a recommendation for or against clemency to the governor until a few days prior to the scheduled execution. So we're not really going to know anything until just a few days. Probably April 24th, maybe April 25th. Her date of death is April 27th, her execution day. Quote, in a case with this much new evidence of innocence. So whenever you hear the family members speaking against Melissa Lucio and speaking against me and other people that are trying to save her life, listen to this. Listen to this. In a case with this much new evidence, it's imperative that they act more quickly and that they recommend a reprieve, or that the governor exercises his authority to grant a reprieve so that there can be a hearing and the evidence can be heard fully, Charles said. This was an investigation that was plagued by tunnel vision, said Vanessa Potkin of the Innocence Project. Quote, officials never fully considered what happened to Mariah, and instead they set out to build a case against Melissa. Exactly. Lucio's clemency application contains new forensic analysis and declarations from 4 jurors who stated that they had grave concerns about evidence withheld from Lucio's capital murder trial and would support relief. Even the former jurors of her previous case would support this clemency. An alternate juror who did not join the jury deliberations also submitted a declaration supporting relief for Lucio. A portion on her application states that Abbott has established a special process for survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking to apply full pardons. Did you see that? Did you understand that? This is why it's so important to recognize that Melissa Lucio is a victim of domestic violence, because our Governor Abbott and our Texas, in its efforts for Texas to reform its badly behaving habits when it comes to justice and seeking justice, because Texas has a bad history of literally sacrificing people and not reforming its justice systems, both in the juvenile setting and in the adult setting. In fact, East Texas underwent an entire rehabilitation of its processes about 10, 12 years ago because of the corruption. Now, here we go. One of the reasons is because Governor Abbott himself has implemented protections against domestic violence survivors, which means things that those domestic violence survivors may be involved in matters, especially when their lives are on the line, or when their freedom is on the line, or when they're involved in some kind of case like that, right? That matters, because were it not for them being domestic violence survivors, they may not have been involved in the situation that they're involved in. Greg Abbott, a Republican, did that, by the way. Now, a portion on her application states that Abbott has established a special process for survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking to apply full pardons. You see, you can pardon somebody in specific ways, and I'm going to show you that right now. There's like a partial pardon, a full pardon, temporary. It depends, all right? But what they're seeking here is a full pardon, so we don't ever have to deal with this ever again. By sparing Melissa's life, the board would be sending a message to thousands of women in Texas who, like Melissa, are victims of sexual abuse and domestic violence. The path of that abuse doesn't end in abandonment. In Governor Abbott's words, the true path of clemency leads to redemption and restoration. Potkin said Lucio and her family were in the process of moving into another apartment when Mariah fell down a flight of stairs at the old apartment. Melissa didn't see what happened, but when she couldn't hear Mariah playing anymore, she went to look for her, and she saw Mariah at the bottom of the staircase, 14 steps that led down to the yard. Potkin said Lucio said it didn't appear that Mariah was seriously injured and that she was bleeding from a cut to her bottom lip. But there were no outward injuries. Mariah was transported to the hospital where she died 2 days later. Now, I'm going to remind you, that is not unusual for a head trauma either. There was a famous actress, I think she's a Redgrave. She's married to Liam Neeson. He's an actor of Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson comes out in a lot of action movies. He's one of the #1 actors for action movies. He lost his wife a few years ago. They were skiing. She had a head injury. Literally, it was just a head injury. She fell asleep. She never woke up. It's not uncommon to have a head injury. You think that the person's okay. They fall asleep and they never wake up again. This happens. It's common with head injuries. Remember, I'm not just a nurse. I'm also a credentialed biologist. Yeah, no matter what the hateful people say, I have my degree in biology with an emphasis in plants and animals and humans. Okay? Not just plants. So, Potkin said Lucio said it didn't appear that Mariah was seriously injured and that she was bleeding from a cut to her bottom lip, but there were no outward injuries. Mariah was transported to the hospital where she died 2 days later. Lucio underwent over 5 hours of interrogation, but investigators refused to believe that someone or something else might have led to Mariah's death, Potkin said. Now, this is where I tell you that is really important. If we do not have critical thinking skills in our law enforcement agencies, if we do not have critical thinking skills at the level of our police departments, if we do not have critical thinking skills in the minds of our patrol men and women at the sheriff's department level, at the city municipal level, if we do not have critical thinkers that are literally at the Texas Rangers level, if they are not critically thinking, they can ruin somebody's life. If they are not critical thinkers, but they have a badge, they can ruin somebody's life. This is what I mean when I tell you that South Texas is at a huge disadvantage when it comes to getting justice. Our people with badges at the state level, which is Texas Rangers, every state has a division like that. Isn't it sad if the critical thinkers of our Texas Rangers is not at the same level as critical thinkers of the same kind of law enforcement agency in another state? Isn't that sad for Texans? Don't you think that that's a little sad for Texans? That means if you're in Texas, there's a high likelihood, higher as compared to other states, that you are going to live in injustice simply based on the lack of critical thinking skills of people who have badges in your state. According to Potkin, Dr. Michael Laposata, chairman of the Department of Pathology at the University of Texas branch at Galveston, found that at the time of Mariah's death, she had indications of a disorder called Disseminated Intravascular Coagulation. Do y'all know what that is? I didn't even know that until I read that right now. I know what it is. That's very rare. That causes extensive bruising. DIC. DIC. Disseminated Intravascular Coagulation. DIC, when a person, a human body, enters the state of disseminated intravascular coagulation basically means that human was bleeding, hemorrhaging, and clotting at the same time. That is a phenomenon that is so hard to put that human life back into homeostasis, to put that human life back into balance. That is a very difficult thing to do. DIC is considered one of the most emergent situations a human can absolutely go through. It is so rare and so dangerous, and it changes from 1 second to the next. If indeed she had a disorder that there was nothing that her family could do to save her, especially not being doctors, not being nurses. Mm-mm. No. Here we go. A fall that Mariah experienced down the flight of stairs is, quote, precisely the type of trauma that led to DIC. DIC is catalyzed by certain traumas. In much the same way that the body goes into fight or flight response. DIC is something that is catalyzed by other processes in the body occurring.
How you doing, everybody?
One of those, DIC, when I was taught of DIC, I was taught in med-surg, and I was taught about DIC in trauma. It's usually a traumatic event. A major surgery can throw you into DIC, or a traumatic event can throw you into DIC. Falling down a flight of stairs.
What did I miss? Did I miss anything?
Might not put you into DIC. A car accident can put you into DIC.
Is she talking about Melissa Lucio's daughter, the little girl, Mariah?
Falling down 14 steps is just as traumatic as a car accident to an adult. So a child going into DIC, what causes a child to go into DIC can be traumas that would not necessarily cause an adult to go into DIC. This matters. And let me tell you something. The way that I'm explaining it to you, you really think that 12 jurors are going to understand this? You really think that the Texas Rangers are going to understand this? Honestly. Honestly. Do you think a district attorney is going to understand this with no biological background? No medical background? None at all. Even before it gets to the point where you have professionals involved to back this up, you still have to have critical thinkers at the law enforcement level before you even charge a person. It makes no sense to not have people with badges in positions to charge a human life, to throw them in a position to have to fight for their life. It makes more sense to make sure that these people have high critical thinking skills. This is why it is so important for us to elevate the level of law, raise the standards of law enforcement. If you're going to be a Texas Ranger, you need to know a little bit more about biology. Because if you don't, this is the kind of thing that can happen when it regarding a human life.
If you're going to be a Texas Ranger,
is finding somebody guilty instead of actually seeking justice, this is what's going to wind up happening. This was okay, like in 1970s, 1980s, 1990s. People understand now, no. If there's things that a state can do to raise the standards of these people with badges to avoid situations like this, then why aren't we doing it? Why? Okay. Let's not speak about anybody. Y'all, let's not. I don't want any of my posts, any of my videos to be a discussion on low vibrational people with literally like 2,000 or less followers. I passed that. I passed that on my public page. My public page has 16,000 followers. Thank y'all so much. Y'all just barely had me past 9,000 followers on this one. 16 plus 9. There you go. Why am I going to be worried about some person that has barely not even 2,000 followers trying to do the job that I'm doing by myself without a microphone, without fancy stuff? Why are we bringing low vibrational subject matter into a high vibrational discussion? We're trying to elevate the discussion. So bringing people like those low vibrational people into this discussion, first of all, they have nothing to do with this. They obviously do not have a science background. They do not have a biology background. I'm 2 credits away from having my minor in criminal justice. I don't know how far he's away from having his minor in criminal justice. All that matters. So why do I care about a man? This is about Melissa Lucio. This is not about any hateful people that are trying to be out there, trying to get notoriety about talking about a subject that they have no clue how to present to the public. And because they have no clue to present it to the public, they use my videos, even though they hate on me, they use my videos because they do not have the vernacular, they do not have the education, they do not have the credentials, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the background to even articulate it on their own.
So she knows I'm watching. She knows we're here at this point.
Without even realizing that immediately discredits you as a person trying to be better than her. You're trying to put her down, but then you use her to explain very complex things that you could never even dream of understanding. Are we done now?
Have I ever put her down?
Vibrational people is about Melissa Lucio and her
I mean, really, I haven't.
This is about seeking justice. This is not about low vibrational people.
Oh, well, I mean, sometimes saying, okay.
All right, here we go. Now, a fall that Mariah experienced down the flight of stairs is precisely the type of trauma that led to DIC, and DIC can cause profound bleeding and bruising. What did I say? DIC is so worrisome because there is no way. There is things that you can give as a medical provider to counteract hemorrhaging. There's things that you can do to counteract clotting. But what do you do? That's why this is so important. What do you do when the human body is bleeding and clotting at the same time? Because anything you do for one, you antagonize the other. If you do something for their bleeding, you're going to go against their clotting. You're going to worsen their clotting. If you do something to help their clotting, you're going to worsen their hemorrhaging. Dude, you see? That's why DIC is so profoundly important and scary. And this is in a 4-year-old child. You rarely see this in children. It can occur quickly. Didn't I just say that? And throughout the body with no additional trauma whatsoever. Podkin said, in patients with DIC, even routine handling at home or in a hospital setting can cause significant bruising. DIC-associated bruising can be and has been, like it was here, incorrectly attributed to child abuse. This is one of those cases where the child actually presented with and had a diagnosis, literally was showing evidence of presenting with a illness that masks and can look like child abuse. How many Texas Rangers do you know have the ability to think that critically?
Talking down on Texas Rangers is not a good idea.
How many Texas Rangers?
Just saying.
Companies, because they have a lot of companies. I believe the one in the closest to us in the Rio Grande Valley is Company D, right? In Wesco. How many of them are trained medically? That's right. But they're going to investigate you for 12 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. They're going to break you down until they get a confession out of you. But they don't have the mental faculties to think critically enough to be like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah, she was arguing with Lynn Marie. And
because they were just trained to be law enforcement.
This one
they weren't trained to
deleted the whole comments, the whole back and forth States, her and Lynn Marie were having.
And especially in a state like Texas, we are a law and order state. We need to ensure that the people that literally can create a situation where we have to fight for our freedom and our lives have the necessary level of critical thinking skills. And if they were not born with it,
Lynn Marie,
we need to make sure that we at least increase the level of their schooling and the standards that they have to meet so that what happened to Melissa Lucio will not happen to other human beings in Texas. And if we can't do that as a government, then we are absolutely letting Texans down. Because how can we give people with badges, literally give them the green light to just do whatever they want to a human life? And we cannot expect them to suddenly one day wake up with critical thinking skills if we do not make it easy for them to go back to school, for them to increase their the neuroplasticity between their neurons so that they can have more critical thinking skills. And critical thinking skills begins in elementary school, junior high, high school, by the way, if we want to create a better society. So the jury that convicted and sentenced Melissa to death never heard this explanation for Mariah's bruises. Did you know that? So when the people opposing the children of Melissa Lucio that are trying to save their mom's life, when those people are talking all kinds of mess on TikTok and this and that, are they telling you this? Are they telling you this? The same people that probably led to a lot of that bruising because maybe they were probably touching their little sister in a way that they shouldn't. Are they telling you this? Probably not, right? Probably not. Do they even have the mental capacity to even understand this is a thing that matters? Probably not. Do they not want you to see them as the people that may have had something to do more directly with the death of their little sister than the actual mom? Probably. Are they going to explain that to you? Probably not. Probably not. Right? Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and block this profile here. What did I say? One more time. I don't have no tolerance for LOL, laughing, stuff like this. Is serious. This is a 4-year-old child that died. Me speaking Spanish has not a damn thing to do with this. Not only was her life lost, but now her mother's life is at risk of being lost.
2-year-old child.
I don't have no time for this.
I'll be right back.
I don't have no time for laughing emojis and stuff like that. You want to go ahead and press the laughing emoticon, you can do that. But I'm not going to give you a voice to be doing this here. You're not going to actually text it and your efforts stay there. No. This is serious. Lucio's attorneys said the jury never heard this explanation for Mariah's bruises and believed this would have changed the outcome of her trial. Well, of course it would have. Of course it would have. All of this was left out, including the confession of one of the children that they pushed the child down the stairs. All of that was left out. All of it. An innocent woman was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to death based on false, unscientific evidence. Did you hear that? Unscientific evidence. False. Not only was the evidence false, the evidence was not based on science. It is so wrong to convict a person, to take their life, to put them on death row based on circumstantial evidence. That's different from concrete evidence. That's totally different. Circumstantial evidence is not based on science. It's based on circumstances, which is why it's called circumstantial evidence. Scientific evidence is based on a science.
Wow, what insight.
This is proven this or this. Can't be anything else. Okay? So, person after person made the unfounded assumption that Melissa was an abuser and refused to consider any evidence to the contrary, Hodgkin said. This woman was railroaded. This was a witch hunt. And this was a witch hunt that was catalyzed and perpetuated by Armando Villalobos, which was the previous district attorney in Cameron County, who has now finished his own federal sentence, and he is now free. He's literally in a halfway house at his home right now in Cameron County. Isn't that sad? Isn't it sad that the district attorney that did this to Melissa Lucio is literally at the end of his sentencing? And he's all comfortable at home, while a woman whose life he ruined is every day wondering, is my life going to be saved? While his ass is over there, all comfortable, over there in Cameron County. Armando, if you're watching this, first of all, I don't know why you have access to social media when you probably shouldn't. That should be a stipulation of your bond or your little parole or whatever stipulations you have to be out of there. Right? But since if you did find a way to, or somebody did show you this and say, hey, she's talking about you, and what about it? You know, Bernard Ammerman used to be the district attorney over here in Williston County. I didn't care. He used to work for you. Did he learn what he did over here? Did he learn from you over there when he was your assistant prosecutor? Mm-mm. I don't have no mercy for people who are in positions of power and abuse their positions to rise politically. Sir, if you're watching this, I don't care how popular you are in Cameron County. That has never stopped me. Now, a motion for a stay of execution and a petition are pending in the Court of Criminal Appeals, and attorneys anticipate there will be additional filings in state and federal courts. That's it for that. Let me see. Erica Valentin says, people are ridiculous. This is seriously not funny. And I'm actually listening to Vanessa because she's stating it's facts. So please stop the comments if you're not going to be serious. This is someone's life. I feel bad for this lady. No, that's what we're up against, Joan. It is, Mateo Lozano, you're correct. This is a modern day lynching. This is a witch hunt. This is a modern day lynching. Whenever women were literally being burned at the stake, they would be put in vats of water, and if they were able to swim, they would call that witchcraft. That's a witch hunt. They used to burn women at the stake for surviving these tests that these people had in government. And whenever witch hunting was outlawed, lynching became a thing. Whenever lynching wasn't a thing, then they started abusing their powers as a government to still get the outcome that witch hunts got and lynchings got, to enact justice in a way that is not justice while taking a life. That's all that is. It's all the same thing, just has different names. Now, let me enlighten you with some things. Really
Welcome, everyone.
A little bit more about
Sorry, I'm in and out. I'm doing some work still.
Let me tell you that right now.
Do have a life aside from this.
I'm doing all this.
Give my page a like if you haven't on Facebook. Manny Behind the Mic. Facebook.com/Manny Behind the Mic. And YouTube as well. Give me a subscribe. I'm trying to reach that valuable 1,000 subscribers. And any help to get there would be appreciated.
Definition, because we cannot blame completely Governor Abbott when he does not grant a clemency. Well, here you go. He has the ability to do pardon, but when it comes to clemency, it depends on the board. So there's human beings on the board of pardons and parole. And depending on that is what urges the governor to sign it or not. Yeah. So
the board of clemency,
all of those different
pardons, they have to recommend that. In order, yes, you should give her a break.
The necessary level of understanding minds that are all on the same page, then that will decide which way Abbott will go. This is not the same thing as a pardon. That's totally different. The governor has the authority to grant, and this is from the Texas Board of Pardons and Parole's website. Okay, the actual website. All right. What is clemency? The governor has the authority to grant clemency upon the written recommendations of a majority of the Neeson.
She cracks me up.
Did you see that? Did you hear that?
Repeat it.
There's the exception. There's a stipulation right there. The governor has the authority to grant clemency upon the written recommendation of the majority of the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles. Clemency includes full pardons after conviction or successful completion of a term of deferred adjudication, community supervision, conditional pardons, pardons based on innocence, commutations of sentence, and reprieves. In capital cases, clemency includes a commutation of sentence to life in prison and a reprieve of execution. The governor may also grant a one-time reprieve of execution not to exceed 30 days without a board recommendation. I love you, Governor Abbott. Can you please go ahead and do that at least while they fight? He can do that one time. He can buy her 30 days and go against these majority board members while her team gets more evidence together to convince these people to finally get a majority that will back up the governor's signature. Other than that, his hands are tied. Vanessa, does it take that long for them to make a decision on her sentence? This is serious. No, it takes that long. It usually takes that long. But like I read in the article, her team is urging them, and they know that it takes a long time, but because of the significance of the case, because it is so blatantly obvious. Usually you do this and you kind of have a little bit of no, this completely exonerates her. All of the evidence absolutely states this woman did not do this to this child. This is different. And because it is so different and so unique, and it's so glaringly obvious that Melissa Lucio did not kill her child, then these people should move faster than they've ever moved before. That's the case that that's the other battle that they have while they do this. This is a multi-pronged war to save her life. Multi-pronged. It takes raising awareness to the issue, social justice ways like this, with people who believe in her, believe in the movement. And then it takes people on her legal team to do everything they can. And then her legal team has to go different ways. They have to ask for this. They have to also be ready to ask for something else. Be ready if the governor does go against them and they say, you know what, you didn't convince us, you don't have the majority. The governor has a one-time chance to ask for 30 days more to give her legal team time to convince another majority board. I'm interested to see what the governor is going to do. I think he's going to do the right thing. I think so. I hope so. I pray so. Now, somebody got on my page the other day. Listen, I don't care if it's part of Melissa's legal team. If I believe in something, I believe in something.
Lynn Marie Garcia, she's talking about you.
That are going against the efforts of Melissa's legal team, I'm going to call you out on it. Right now, I'm not going to call out the person. But there was somebody that got on my page the other day and literally tried telling me that the Michael Morton case has nothing to do with this.
It doesn't.
Yes, it does. There's similarities. Just in the same way that I tried to tell y'all how there was similarities between Melissa Lucio's circumstance of injustice and Vanessa Guillen's circumstances of injustice. I laid out like 7 correlating factors that matter for both cases, even though the details of the cases are not.
Somebody asked her, then why did you delete every single interaction between you and Lynn Marie Garcia?
And their lives, and saving their lives, or finding out if their lives are even,
I've got all the texts. Lynn Marie Garcia screenshotted all of them too.
If she was alive or not. My point is, simply because other low vibrational people, I don't care if they have degrees or no degrees. I don't care if they're investigators or not investigators. If you are literally working against the efforts of the people that are trying to save Melissa Lucio's life, I'm going to call you out on it. I'm going to call you out on it. I'm going to silence your voice on my page. You can go ahead and you can go on the hate pages, but then that's going to discredit your work for the rest of your life too. You don't want to be going on hate pages. You don't. Because ain't no jury, ain't nobody, they ain't going to want to work with you. Not one legal team in Texas is going to want to work with you after you have been outed working with hate pages or going on hate pages trying to go.
If you guys can feel your computers and phones starting to shake,
point blank, period.
Like trembling, that's Lynn Marie Garcia. Her blood's boiling right now.
So
I can feel it.
The other day I said, because I needed Texas to understand, we cared more about a white man, Michael Morton, than we care about this brown woman, Melissa Lucio. So this white lady came onto my page saying, well, both cases don't have anything to do with each other. And I said, first of all, who asked you? Second of all, yes, they do. Both cases involve a white man, a defendant, and a brown woman, a defendant. In both cases, the white man was forced to do a number of years of a life sentence because the Texas prosecution failed to put forth evidence that would have found him innocent. It's the same damn thing from Melissa Lucio's case. Quit trying to tell me it's not. There's never going to be a reality in which I'm going to agree with you.
There's a huge difference.
And there's never going to be a reality or a dimension in which I am going to allow you to do that kind of mess against these efforts. I don't care who you are, how famous you are, how many books you've written, what you've done. That's not going to happen. With me, you hit a roadblock doing that kind of stuff. No. So let me tell you.
Lynn Marie didn't hit any roadblock. She rolled over a road bump. How's that?
So Michael Morton was prosecuted. And my point is in saying this is Texas cares more about a white man who was maliciously prosecuted for killing his wife than they care about a brown woman who is maliciously prosecuted for killing her baby girl. Why are we caring more about that white man? Why? That's Texas. And this is the truth. This is the truth. They cared so much more about that white man than they cared about Melissa Lucio, even though the reasons for these two people both having done time is ultimately the same thing. The prosecution in both cases failed to put forth evidence that would have found Michael Morton innocent and Melissa Lucio innocent. Tell me that the cases are not related now.
They're not.
Then the woman tried to dig her heels in and say, well, it has to be DNA evidence. No, it doesn't. The Michael Morton Act does not have to have DNA evidence for it to be applicable. It's any evidence. If there is a video that has no DNA involved, that shows that a man or a woman in Texas, that a Texan did not commit a crime, and the prosecution knows about that, but the prosecution withholds that, they are violating the Michael Morton Act. Does that evidence have anything to do with DNA? No. Does the Michael Morton Act still apply? Yes. That's why that woman was wrong coming to my page and trying to tell me about the Michael Morton Act. I know she was looking at somebody that's way younger than her, that she's been doing this for a longer time, but she was in the wrong. And she probably is wondering, like, why is this woman, this Vanessa Theodina, getting so much? Why is everybody looking at her about this case when I know more about this case? Lady, that's not my fault. My thing is about raising awareness to issues that matter. It's not my fault that you do not have a forum. You do not have whatever it is that people want to listen to you. That's not my fault. You do not. That's something personal in you. That has nothing to do with saving the life of Melissa Lucio. That is a personal problem. And now your personal problem is now working against the efforts of the people that are trying to save Melissa Lucio's life. Do not come over here with that mess. I don't care who you are. And then you're not going to like it when your whole entire legacy, your whole life helping people is literally going to be obliterated because of the one thing you did to try to go against Vanessa Tijerina, who's trying to save the life of this woman who you only want people to think you saved her life. Now, please be quiet and sit down. This is a community effort. What we don't need is we do not need antagonism. You help in your way, I help in my way. But you do not come over here and antagonize me. No, that's not going to happen.
She was correcting you, not antagonizing you. Huge difference. Huge.
I just want to be very clear on all of this. That way, nobody can tell y'all anything, against what I'm saying, and anything that anybody says in opposition to any of my words, because I'm not going to be doing videos. I'm not going to be, low vibrational people are going to be saying, well, Vanessa's wrong. What are they going to do when everything that I said is literally used to save this woman's life? Everything that I have already identified is things that her lawyers have identified, and we do not talk. They identified it at their time. I identified it at my time. Simply because I stated things, and then later on, the things that I state actually are the doctrines that I state, the rationale that I state to save this woman's life, everything that I state, simply because you hate me. What are you going to say later? What are you going to say later about all your statements that Vanessa Tijerina was wrong whenever she was making these statements about Melissa Lucio's life? But then people actually use this in a court of law, and it becomes precedence. Literally, what Vanessa Tijerina stated was true. And it was proven true because they actually used the same rationale while saving the life of this woman. And no, Vanessa Tijerina did not take that rationale from the minds of her lawyers. Vanessa Tijerina just saw the situation and just enacted common sense with the knowledge, experience that she has. That's it. Period. You see? This is what matters when you're trying to look at sources regarding stories. You're going to listen to somebody who literally has a degree in biology, who has been in medicine for 25 years in the health profession, who literally understands the Michael Morton Act because of other reasons, literally, inside out. The Brady Bill, all of that matters. And I don't have to tell you why. Okay, let's see. I'm going to read to you about the Michael Morton Act really quickly.
Oh, boy.
This is an article from the Texas Tribune called Perry Signs the Michael Morton Act. Why am I bringing up the Michael Morton Act? Because Texas cared more about a white man when Texas maliciously prosecuted a white man. They care more about that white man than they care about this brown woman. Why? It matters. Why? Why does her brown life not matter? Her brown female life not matter as much as a white male life? Why? Where's the outrage? Why? Why? And are we going to continue to show and prove as a state that we do not care about brown female lives as much as we care about white male lives? Are we going to continue to do that? We're just going to continue to do that and to act like it's not happening? That's why I'm mentioning the Michael Morton Act. Here we go. Perry signs Michael Morton Act. This is the name of this article. This article was written May 16th, 2013. With exoneree, that means he was exonerated. He was found innocent of everything they claimed he did. With exoneree Michael Morton by his side, Governor Rick Perry on Thursday signed a measure that aims to avoid wrongful convictions by preventing prosecutors from suppressing evidence. With exoneree Michael Morton by his side, Governor Rick Perry on Thursday signed a measure that aims to avoid wrongful convictions by preventing prosecutors from suppressing evidence. In the case of Melissa Lucio, in the case of Michael Morton, they suppressed DNA evidence that would have found him innocent. And throughout the entire trial, the prosecution had the evidence that would have found him innocent, and they still prosecuted him, and they still found him guilty and gave him life. In the case of Melissa Lucio, the information that was withheld was not only the scientific evidence that I just read to you from the article, but it was also the confession of one of the children pushing her down the stairs. So tell me again how the Michael Morton Act and the way that Texas treated Michael Morton has nothing to do with the way Texas is treating
about the stairs.
It has every damn thing to do with it, because the
in case you guys didn't know,
are the same when you boil it down to the prosecution holding evidence that would have
they
found
believe
Michael
that there
Morton
were
innocent
stairs
and Melissa Lucio
involved,
innocent.
but they don't know
Stop
which
arguing
stairs.
with me because you look
They don't know if it was
like
that
you're
long flight of stairs that you saw in the documentary, or if it was at a different location where the steps were like 2 or 3 steps. So there's that's not clear.
Which was named for Morton, who spent 25 years in prison before being exonerated. How long has Melissa Lucio been in jail? Since 2007? That's almost about the same time, y'all. That's about 25 years. So you're going to tell me that the Michael Morton Act does not absolutely throw a huge spotlight on the fact that Texas cares more about a white man who is taken 25 years away from his life because a prosecutor withheld evidence in his case. And they care more about that white man's life than they care about this brown woman's life, who was also taken 25 years away from her life, also because evidence finding her innocent was also not allowed by the prosecution.
She
and
is
in fact,
so
was suppressed and hidden.
Misguided. She's got it. She doesn't know
You're
what she's
still
talking
come
about.
over here and tell me?
She can't comprehend.
Do not be a white person doing that. That's going to make it even worse. That lady was white.
Racist much?
Literally, I'm stating the case. Literally, the reason that I'm making the correlation is to prove to all of Texas, this is the hypocrisy in Texas. We care more about 25 years taken away from a white man than we care about 25 years taken away from a brown woman, both at the hands of the state of Texas. And you're going to be a white person coming after me and arguing that with me? That's a next level inappropriate. It's already inappropriate, whatever color is your skin, coming over here and arguing that with me when you cannot argue that with me. It's inarguable. It's the facts.
Inarguable.
But for you to be a white person, that makes it extra level inappropriate. This is a major victory for integrity and fairness in our judicial system, Perry said of Senate Bill 1611, which was named for Morton, who spent 25 years in prison before being exonerated. It was the governor's first public signing ceremony of the session. Morton was convicted in 1987 and sentenced to life in prison for the murder of his wife. He was exonerated in 2011 after DNA testing connected another man to the brutal crime. In their investigation, Morton's lawyers discovered that the prosecutor, the inappropriate Texas prosecutor, in the original case had withheld critical evidence that could have pointed to the real killer and spared Morton the quarter century he spent behind bars. Quarter of a century, right? So how come it's such a big deal that a white man in Texas was taken a quarter of a century of his life was taken away from him, but it don't hardly anybody's, it's so crickets, silence.
I don't think I've heard the term white man so much in the last 3 years.
And you're going to be a white person
than by just listening to her a few times.
And argue that with me? Please. No. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen, and you wind up looking at the one that's reasonable. No. It's awful for anybody to go against the correlation that I'm making with both of these cases. That very correlation shows that Texas absolutely demonstrates hypocrisy. Now, we can say that it's, they care more about white lives than they do about brown lives, or we can say that they care more about males and females. Either way, it's wrong. Either way.
Do you see the difference? Do you see the Michael Morton Act, what it is, what it means?
Then why Texas cares more about a man having 25 years.
That did not happen in the Melissa Lucio situation.
Versus a brown
woman.
A woman, just a woman. Tell me why. Take race out of it then. Take race out of it. You still can't argue with me. Both cases correlate to each other. Both cases matter. And both cases together show the hypocrisy of Texas. Whether you want to say it is whites being shown more privilege and concern than brown people, or whether you want to say males being shown more consideration and concern than females. Whichever way you want to go, we can argue that. Actually, I can. You can't. Because you're going to sound ridiculous, whoever it is that wants to attempt that. So, since his exoneration, Morton has lobbied lawmakers to pass legislation that would prevent others from suffering the same fate. So, Michael Morton didn't want this to happen to anybody else, and he used his story to be able to pass the Michael Morton Act. The Brady bill is a bill that forces the prosecution in Texas to give any kind of evidence, right, forth, that is against it. Anybody that's convicted of anything or charged with anything. The Brady bill forces law enforcement to give you any evidence that's against you so that you can know what's going on. The Michael Morton Act does the same thing, but actually makes it a crime for prosecutors to withhold evidence. That's the difference. to withhold evidence that would find the person innocent. Since his exoneration, Morton has lobbied lawmakers to pass legislation that would prevent others from suffering the same fate. Under Senate Bill 1611, prosecutors will be required to turn over evidence to defendants accused of crimes and to keep a record of the evidence they disclose. The landmark 1963 U.S. Supreme Court ruling in Brady, what did I just say? The Brady Bill. I hadn't even read this article. In Brady versus Maryland, that's where the Brady Bill came from, what I just stated. Already requires prosecutors to give defendants information that is material either to guilt or to punishment. That's exactly what I just stated to y'all right now. The Morton Act requires disclosure of evidence regardless. So where the Brady Bill forces law enforcement in Texas to give the defendant all evidence held against them, the Morton Act levels up that protection and that level of integrity by making sure that the prosecution is forced to bring forth even evidence, not just that will find you guilty, not just evidence that will determine your sentencing, but evidence that will find you innocent. That's the difference between the Morton Act and the Brady Bill. So, one more time, the Morton Act requires disclosure of evidence regardless of its materiality to guilt or punishment. It is the first significant reform to Texas discovery law since 1965. Y'all, Texas hadn't had real reform since the 60s. That's crazy. That's a half a century.
Hey, if you guys haven't seen the movie The Hand That Rocks the Cradle,
Perry said it was.
You should watch that one too, along with Mommy Dearest.
Exactly 50 years. That's half a century. Wow. After the Supreme Court issued the Brady ruling. We are known as a law and order state, and as such, we've never been easy on those convicted of a crime in our state. That's right. Perry said. With that tradition, however, comes a very powerful responsibility to make sure our judicial process is transparent and is as open as humanly possible. State Senator Rodney Ellis, he's a good man, Democrat from Houston, who co-authored the bill with State Senator Robert Duncan, Republican from Lubbock, said the bill's passage represented, quote, an important milestone in the journey towards justice in Texas. Damn right. Duncan said the legislation would help preserve liberty in the state. After signing the problem is enforcing it. We have a lot of people with badges enforcing laws on civilians. Yet, we don't have hardly anybody enforcing and having state and federal oversight over people in badges, with badges, that are doing this to other people, that are literally violating these acts. We have nobody to do that. Nobody is watching the watchers. No one is watching the watchers. And when you have nobody watching the watchers, things like what happened to Michael Morton and things like what happened to Melissa Lucio happen. Who's watching the watchers? Because the watchers are certainly watching us and making sure that we don't violate crimes, but nobody is watching the watchers to make sure that the watchers do not violate laws. Representative, after signing the bill, Perry handed Morton the pen he used to do it. And State Representative Sanfronia Thompson, Democrat from Houston, presented Morton with the gavel used to mark the passage of the bill in the House. Asked whether he would support legislation to create an innocence commission to investigate wrongful convictions like Morton's, Perry deferred. You see, that's what should have happened, and we should not have deferred. There should have been something created at this point, but it wasn't. We had an opportunity back in 2013 to create a commission to watch the watchers, to oversee people in robes and with badges, to make sure that they did not violate laws and become possible criminals themselves as they are attempting to criminalize another individual. We had a chance to do it, and we didn't do it. It's never too late to do the right thing. asked whether he would support legislation to create an innocence commission to investigate wrongful convictions like Morton's, Perry deferred, but said that he was open to proposals that would, quote, make Texas a better place to live. He said the legislature meets every 2 years and considers the need for changes to the criminal justice system. The process is always open from that standpoint, Perry said, adding the process, I think, works well for us. The Texas Defender Service, which represents a death row inmates, hailed Perry's signing of the legislation, calling it historic. Quote, this is a great day for fairness in Texas.
Oh, she's going to read the whole freaking article.
Executive director said in a press release, quote, the Michael Morton Act will reduce wrongful convictions. It is something we can all be proud of. That's the end of the story. However, let me add this.
Oh, the legal opinion.
How happy they were when this happened. This is a great day for fairness in Texas. The Michael Morton Act will reduce wrongful convictions. It is something we can all be proud of. Do you know how many times since this act? Imagine how many cases have actually, how many prosecutors in Texas have actually violated the Michael Morton Act? What good does it do to have an act if you're not going to enforce it on law enforcement? What good is it to be happy and proud of it, and 20 years later, you literally are not enforcing it, and you have not created a commission to enforce it? All cases in Texas, there should be a commission that oversees all cases in Texas, especially cases of being put on given life sentences or being sentenced to death, especially those cases where your life is literally going to be taken from you for a long time or forever. This matters. And if we have an issue with our law enforcement continuing to violate the Michael Morton Act, then what is our Texas lawmakers going to do to fix all of that? Or are they going to allow the hemorrhaging to continue?
So for those of you who can't read that right now, Lynn Marie said, yes, please release all the screenshots. So I'll do that in just a little bit.
Y'all, I'm being serious. We really need to stay on topic. I get it. There's not a lot of places that you can go to and platforms that you can go to where you can bring something. I'm not going to allow any of the discussions to go off tangent, especially when it's regarding Melissa Lucio's life, or later on if it regards somebody else's life. Why are we talking about Biden? Why? This is not a page for Republicans versus Democrats. I have already stated that both parties are flawed. Both of them are. I'm inclined to be with one over the other because historically the other one, in modern times at least, the Democrats have shown that they have a little bit more compassion. But as of right now, regarding this issue, both sides have shown, both the Republicans and the Democrats have both shown an absence of empathy in regards to Melissa Lucio's case. Both. And right now is a grand opportunity for Texas to sit back and watch and see which party will show what needs to be done in cases of true injustice. Is it going to be the Democrats or is it going to be the Republicans? To me, I don't care which one does it, but I'm going to be absolutely horrified if the Republicans are literally showed up by the Democrats are showed up by the Republicans. And I don't want to hear any crying at all later on whenever they lose voters and they weren't able to do a blue wave in Texas. Wow. Anyways, and Pamela Pumpkin, bye. When I tell y'all that y'all are not going to throw me off track, y'all are not going to throw me off track.
I believe that.
Nothing.
I believe that.
Nothing.
I believe that.
It's not going to happen.
Nothing is going to throw her off track.
This is not my low vibrational self.
We all believe that.
This is my highly developed, highest vibrational self that you can see right now. Nothing is going to throw me off track. Nothing. You're not going to change my demeanor. You're not going to change anything at all. This video is all about Melissa Lucio, the little beauty things that I said in the beginning, that it was all about letting y'all be updated about the Melissa Lucio case. So right now, all we can do is sit back. That's it. That's it. All right. Exactly, Mateo Lozano. Where are all the pro-life activists when you need them? At least the Republicans. If they're Republicans, they're going to actually, love. One aspect of demonstrating love, not just in a relationship, but between government and the public, governmental officials and the public, governmental officials assigned, appointed, or elected, and the public, law enforcement and the public, is consistency. At least if the Republicans step up for Melissa Lucio, they are truly, truly demonstrating consistency because they are always pro-life. What are you Democrats going to say about it when they literally are demonstrating consistency, and consistency is part of an aspect of true love and demonstrating true love? You're literally going to have the Republicans demonstrating true love to the public while the Democrats are there crickets on the issue? Crickets. Really? Beto, AOC, all that. Where are all those texting people when regarding Melissa Lucio? Where are y'all? Where are all the people that care about the dogs and cats? If you care about dogs and cats' lives, I would imagine you're going to care about a human life, right? And a lot of those people that care about dogs and cats, they're mostly Democrats. Mostly. Mm-hmm.
She may be right on that one.
Yeah. Thank
I don't know.
So much. And I guess that's it. Thank you so much, Miss Gracie De Leon Rodriguez. Thank you for tuning in. Miss Lisa Dominguez Montaño. Thank you so much. Ida Soto, Hazel Carth, how are you doing? Let's see. Let's delete that. And yeah.
Slam on the hearts, slam on the likes.
Delete.
If you don't like it, you can slam on that too. That's okay.
This little guy right here really does need police involvement. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You see, even these low vibrational political men that I literally, there's one on here that I really need to tell you what he's done. I'm gonna wait on it just a little bit. Whenever he thinks the dust is settled, I'll go ahead and do it. Because if I'm going to do it, it's going to be with a purpose, right? It's going to be to affect, right? In much the same way that they're affecting me. But the thing is, they're trying to affect me with nonsense. So when you try to affect me with nonsense, I'm going to come at you trying to do damage control with the truth. So if you think that you're going to do something to my name,
I'm trying to do. I'm not doing as much as these big groups do, but I'm going to try to do my part. I really am.
Low vibrational men coming over here to tell me, men or women, coming to tell me you're wrong about everything you're saying, when literally, how am I wrong about everything I'm saying when literally I'm reading it, the article. Everything that I'm said has been said by somebody else. Everything that I said, I promise you, is going to be used later on to defend her. I promise you. I can sit here confidently and say that. But like I said, these little low vibrational people are not going to come back later on and say, yeah, I was foolish to be saying those kind of comments about Vanessa Tejerina. They're not going to tell you that. They're not. They're going to act like they're going to do everything. They're going to completely ignore the issue. Completely ignore it. You are 2022. You are wrong about everything you're saying. 2022 passes, and during the 2022, everything that I stated was proven right. Is that little low vibrational man going to come back and say, I was wrong? No. So why am I going to care about him and what he says? They're out there trying to do things. Like, I'm actually doing things to actually help humanity. Why do I care about these people with they don't even have no platforms? No, they don't even have no platforms. None at all. They have to go on the hate pages to even have their words be spoken and for people to actually hear them. So, anyways, thank y'all so much. That's what I got to say about all that. remember, y'all, May 27th is going to be a runoff. The first thing that I would consider in South Texas, the very first thing when I'm thinking between two people, especially during this election time, May 27th is going to be exactly 1 month after April 27th. So for 30 days after that, we as Texans are going to have the opportunity to make an educated vote. And I want you, sadly, there's probably going to be 0 politicians asking for your vote that try to save this woman's life. Sadly, that's probably, I'm predicting no one in a runoff is going to say the name Melissa Lucio. That's sad. However, if you are in a position to choose between 2 people trying to get the Democratic nomination, one of them did say the name Melissa Lucio sometime before the runoff and the other one didn't, my vote goes to the one that actually said the name Melissa Lucio and actually made efforts before April the 27th, not just that, mentioned it afterwards. Okay? What's up? Low vibrational men that are coming over here, they're actually involved in elections. They think they are the political people of the Rio Grande Valley. That's why they come over here, because they don't like that this woman is literally getting views and people are actually interacting with her and they're actually understanding things and awareness is being raised by this woman they don't like. You can't do the job, dudes. You can't. You've tried. You failed. No one cares about what you have to say. You're not charismatic. You don't have a platform. You're probably never going to.
Charismatic?
You're discrediting yourself whenever you're going against me. What can I tell you? You're working against yourself.
Wow.
All right. So, y'all don't fight with these low vibrational people. I already take care of them. Okay, don't worry about it. I love y'all. Thank you so much. I'm gonna be take a break for a little bit. Okay.
I wonder why.
Right. If I do anything, I may post later on and maybe give you pictures of the products that I've already mentioned to you. And yeah. Okay. Thank y'all so much. That's I'm not trying to fit a certain genre. This is literally just my life. These are things that I find interesting, things that I find important. And there's things that I find important that I do to my body, right? To my face, that some ladies that are watching me, they like it. They want to know what I do, and so that they can do it. And these men don't understand that my following is created by people that care about other things, not just about their political shenanigans. They don't care just about politics, because between elections and between political justice issues and between political movements, people still care about their skin. People still care about looking young. People still care about relationship stuff. People still care about the things that these other men don't even talk about between politics and between political events and things like that, and political movements. That's why I have the following that I have, because in between all this political stuff, I still talk about things that people care about. And that's funny. They can't do this. They don't have that charisma. They don't have. Nobody's looking at them and saying, "Hey, Mr. Abel Prado, what's your skincare routine?" No, because nobody cares. And literally, if they look at your skin, they're not going to want your skincare routine. They're probably going to ask,
did he say Abel Prado?
I won't do that. What are you failing to do so I will do the opposite? That's the truth.
You guys.
And this is just me being Vanessa Tijerina. I'm not.
Yo, I like all of your comments. You guys are freaking hilarious. I love them all.
And these men are bothered that just me living my life gets the attention that they'll never, ever, ever, ever get. That's not my fault. That's their personal problem. Okay?
Yep, Maricela, I got that update for you. I'll send it to you in a minute.
All right. Bye, y'all. Be safe and well. Take care of yourselves. Yeah.
You're right, Lynn Marie. You absolutely do deserve one of them.
Later. Thank you so much. Hugs to all of you. Hugs to all of you. Hugs to all of you. Hugs to all of you as well. All right.
That was close.
Later. We'll talk later. Remember, the runoffs are in May. We're not going to hear anything back regarding Melissa Lucio, and y'all know that was the number one thing that I really cared about right now until April 27th. Now we know that right now that's at a standstill. There's nothing more that we can do as a public except just share the story. That way, if the outcome of the outcome at the state level and if the efforts that her legal team has made do not get the outcome that we want, we still want to remember that we have the power to continue to raise awareness.
Hi, Sammy.
And so from now until April the 20th, just continue telling people about
Jesse, thank you.
The story of Melissa Lucio. And also what is really important that's going to come out of this case is the fact that Texas is showing its true colors. Texas is showing how they cared more about the life of a white person versus a brown person.
With the white.
Or Texas is showing how they cared more about the life of a male versus a female. Take it however you want, make the fight however you want to make it. I know that the way what's happening is what matters, and the light being shined is what matters, because we're seeing this huge difference that matters. It's a hypocrisy that's leading to injustices. This is just but one example.
Lilia Height, Sammy Height,
or males are treated better and have more justice accessible to them and more care and consideration from their leaders versus
we're in one of the stages of her 40-minute goodbyes right now, so we'll see what stage we're in.
So thank y'all. Bye. Be well, be safe.
All right. Wasn't that something? Skincare. We're talking skincare. She wants to talk skincare. Here you go. Here, right here. Check that out. I'll be back later. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you were amused as I was. It was very fascinating. I'm going to release those screenshots. Lynn Marie said, go ahead and do it. So I'm going to go grab a quick bite, and then I'm going to come back and start, I'm going to start doing that and releasing those screenshots. So enjoy those. Hopefully I'll start to do them in the next 20 minutes or so. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget, like the page, subscribe to the other page. You need some Avon stuff, shopwithmanny.com. Manny's merch for t-shirts and all that fun stuff. And we'll talk to you guys a little bit later. See ya.